Billionaire discovers one hidden lunchbox. What he found inside changed his life forever. Jack Donovan stood atop his penthouse balcony, gazing at the sprawling city below encased in gold. A sprawling empire built on sweat and dreams. Yet, despite the clinking of crystal and shimmering luxury that filled his life every day, a heavy emptiness clung to him. As a self-made billionaire in his late 40s, Jack had seemingly achieved it all. But each morning, he awoke with the same feeling of void, whispering of a simpler time, of warmth and community, of a love overflowing that had faded into a distant echo. Jack's upbringing was a tale of resilience. Raised in a modest single-parent home, his mother poured every ounce of strength into raising him right. Working double shifts, bringing home barely enough to scrape by, yet never faltering in the lesson of hard work, gratitude, and loyalty. Her sacrifices were etched in his memory, yet the noise of success almost drowned out the melody of those heartfelt teachings. Deciding to give back, Jack embarked on a project close to his heart, renovating the community center that molded him. As he pushed through the echoing halls, a forgotten box in a dusty corner caught his eye. Curiosity piqued. He opened it, his fingers brushing against a rusted lunchbox. The moment he touched its surface, a flood of nostalgia hit him like a tidal wave. Inside lay a child's note, crudely written, "Thank you for your kindness." Beside it, a faded photo of a smiling military veteran and vibrant, crayon-drawn dreams of a future he barely remembered. Overwhelmed, Jack was yanked back to moments filled with laughter, friendship, and innocence nestled in his small town. He recalled the smell of his mother's cooking, the simple joys of a shared meal, and the countless neighborhood gatherings that forged a bond so deep it resembled family. Inspired, he decided to make a change. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. However, as he reached out to the community, skepticism emerged. Local leaders harbored doubts about his elite status. Friends raised eyebrows, questioning his motives, igniting heated debates about the economic divide. Jack felt a mix of anger and confusion. His heart ached. He just wanted to uplift those who once uplifted him. Each setback pushed him deeper into despair, but memories of his mother's lessons urged him forward. But then something incredible happened. Just as Jack was about to give up, the community began to rally. Conversations sparked connection. They shared stories that breathed life into forgotten dreams. Jack felt hope swell within him. He wasn't just a billionaire, he was a neighbor, a friend. Yet just as the tide began to turn, an incident shook the very foundation of everything he'd built. Tensions flared, and it became painfully clear how deep the scars of inequality ran in this neighborhood he cherished. The lunchbox transformed in his mind from a relic to a powerful symbol of unity he craved. Standing at the bustling community center, Jack found himself at a crossroads, one that held the power to redefine his life and the lives of everyone in the neighborhood. Could he bridge the divide? Or would he stumble over obstacles even wealth couldn't overcome? The answers lay ahead, complicating his journey as he sought the connection his heart desperately yearned for. As days passed, Jack found himself consumed by the idea of the community center. It wasn't just a building. It was a lifeline. Each brick held stories, laughter, and dreams. He remembered the youth programs, the after-school tutoring, the food drives that brought people together. But with the tension lingering in the air like ominous clouds, Jack knew he had to act more decisively. One afternoon, he gathered the community leaders for a meeting. Faces he had once admired now wore expressions of wariness. He stood at the long table, his heart pounding like a drum. "I want to support us," he began hesitantly. "I know how tough things have been. I want to put up a fundraising event, something we can all participate in." A murmur spread across the room. Uncertainty hung thick. One of the leaders, an imposing woman named Carla, crossed her arms. And what makes you think you know what we need, Jack? You drive a Bentley. We're trying to survive every day. Jack swallowed hard. Her words cut deep, but he knew they came from pain. I don't pretend to understand your struggles fully, but I remember what it was like to feel alone. The lunchbox reminded me of our roots, of our shared humanity. His voice wavered, emotions threatening to overtake him. I want to learn. I want to help, but I can't do it alone. Silence filled the room. Jack could feel eyes boring into him, measuring him, judging him. But as he met Carla's gaze, something passed between them, a flicker of recognition. He knew he had to make them see him as more than just a wealthy outsider. I'm hosting a block party, he continued, desperation swirling in his chest. A day for all of us. Food, music, games. Let me cover the costs. Let us revive the spirit we once had. We can use this day to bring everyone together. To heal. Slowly a shift began. Carla unfolded her arms, a hint of curiosity glimmering in her eyes. Other leaders glanced at each other, contemplating the idea. We need to include everyone. Can't be all about your wealth, Carla warned firmly. Absolutely. I want everyone to have a hand in it. We can work together to organize. The hope that swelled within Jack felt daunting yet invigorating. Over the next few weeks, they poured their hearts into planning. The warm season rose upon them, the sun shining brightly through the trees, whispering promises of new beginnings. Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose, forming bonds that had long been dormant. But just when the plans blossomed into something tangible, dark clouds began to appear on the horizon again. A local newspaper reported on the block party, framing it as a publicity stunt meant to mask the ongoing struggles in the neighborhood. Tensions flared anew, igniting deep-seated resentments. Jack's intentions were misconstrued, and people began to question whether this party was truly about community healing or if it was an elaborate show for his own benefit. Feeling the weight of misunderstanding, Jack reflected on his journey. He thought of the lunchbox, the lessons of kindness and hope its contents had unlocked. Would he allow his effort to be dashed by apprehension? Would fear drown out the chance for change? The day of the block party approached, and Jack stood firm, heart racing. Hope mixing with fear, he realized the answer lay not just in the event, but in the truth he still had to face. Was he ready to confront not only the community's doubts but also his own insecurities? With everything on the line, Jack knew he had to take a leap of faith. What would happen when the community gathered together? Would it be celebration or strife? Could the lunchbox truly symbolize unity? As he looked around, he could almost feel the rhythm of the heartbeats around him, waiting, just like him, to see how this story would unfold. The day of the block party finally arrived, and a warm breeze swept through the neighborhood, signaling an unusual anticipation in the air. Jack stood in front of the community center, which gleamed like a lighthouse amongst the worn-down buildings. Bright banners fluttered above, and tables lined with colorful tablecloths awaited the crowds. It all looked so vibrant, so full of potential. As Jack set up, he could see people peeking out from their homes, unsure if they should come out. He touched the lunchbox in his pocket, the metal still cool against his palm. It was his talisman now, a reminder of why he stood there to fight against the isolation that had plagued both him and the community for too long. Hey, a voice called, breaking his focus. It was Carla, her expression softer than it had been at the meeting. Need help? Yeah, absolutely, Jack replied, his voice infused with gratitude. They moved through the crowd, laughing as they set up games for the kids and stacked coolers full of drinks. Slowly, people started to trickle in. Jack felt every eye watching him, curiosity versus skepticism as the sun began to set. Vibrant music filled the air, coaxing people out of their corners. The community center buzzed with life. Families gathered around tables. Children squealed with delight while playing tag. Jack watched the connection unfold, and it stirred something within him. Jack, a voice called, pulling him from his reverie. It was Marcus, a young man he had met when planning the event. You've got to see this. Jack followed Marcus, who led him to a group gathered around a makeshift stage. Local performers were sharing their talents: poetry, heartfelt songs, laughter each act weaving stories that resonated deeply with the audience. It was infectious. Jack felt his pulse quicken, both from excitement and dread. What would happen if someone, hidden away, called him out? Would they echo Carla's words, labeling him a fraud? But that moment lingered just right, filled with hope. Then, an unexpected figure emerged. It was Maria, a woman known for her fierce spirit but also her reluctance to accept help. She'd remained a mystery, distanced herself from the neighborhood gatherings. Now, standing at the edge of the crowd, it felt like everyone collectively held their breath. Maria approached the stage. Jack felt a knot form in his stomach. Was she there to speak against him? Assumptions swirled through the crowd. But instead, she took a deep breath and began to share her story. The struggles of raising her children alone, battling against prejudices, longing for a safe place for her family. Each word poured from her heart. "I didn't think anyone cared," she said, glancing at Jack. "But today you've made me feel like we belong." The crowd erupted in applause. A melted mixture of relief and gratitude washed over Jack. However, Maria continued, her voice steady. "This can't just be a one-off. We need more than just a party. We need consistent support, someone willing to listen." The cheers quieted, tension crackling in the air. Jack's heart raced. This was the moment he had feared. The truth was demanding more than just a single day filled with fun. "I'm here for that," he responded, holding her gaze. "I'm listening, and I'm all in if you are willing to guide me." A ripple of murmurs floated throughout the crowd. Nothing was fully resolved yet, but a connection sparked a thread of possibility. Jack recognized it was raw, vulnerable, and real. As music thrummed in the background, the sense of community began to transform. Hope blossomed. But Jack also felt the weight of what lay ahead. They had a road to navigate, filled with dreams, aspirations, and the hard truths of each life. With his eyes on Maria, Jack knew this was only the beginning. Would they be able to turn today's fleeting joy into something lasting? He stood there, not just seeking acceptance but ready to redefine his role. There was so much left to learn, and he wasn't alone anymore. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Jack felt another pulse of uncertainty rise within him. Could he truly meet the community's expectations? Tomorrow would hold the answer, and as Jack glanced at the crowd, he felt a tethering hope. What awaited him as they ventured into this uncharted territory together? Only time would tell. The morning after the block party dawned bright and promising. Jack awoke with the morning sun streaming through his window, filling his room with a golden glow. He lay there, trying to capture the warmth of yesterday's connections, but a familiar weight settled back into his chest. The exuberance of the night felt distant, like a dream slipping away. He tossed back the covers and got out of bed, his heart still racing from Maria's words. That sense of belonging, that powerful spark of hope, now turned to a burning question: how would he take the community's call to action and transform it into something real? After a quick breakfast, Jack decided to walk. The streets felt different today, with people emerging from their homes, exchanging small greetings as if yesterday had bridged an invisible gap. He passed by Carla's house and saw her on the porch, sipping coffee. "Hey, Jack," she smiled, waving him over. "You really made a difference yesterday." "Thanks, Carla." He moved closer, grabbing a seat beside her. "So what do you think? Can we keep this going?" She nodded thoughtfully. "I think people want more. It's about trust now. We have to show them we're committed." That resonated. Jack could feel the energy shifting, alive and impatient for change. "What do you think we could do? Something that keeps this community alive?" Carla leaned back, thinking. What if we started regular gatherings? Not just parties but real discussions. Workshops, things the community wants to learn about or collaborate on. The idea formed in Jack's mind like an outline waiting to be filled. That's brilliant. We could have sessions on parenting, job skills, even health awareness. It needs to be a safe place for everyone. Just then, their friend Marcus strolled by with his skateboard in hand. "What are you two cooking up?" he asked, peering curiously at Jack. "A plan how to keep the momentum from the party going." Jack replied, excitement bubbling within. "I'm in. Let us run with it," Marcus exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious as word spread throughout the neighborhood. More ideas began to flow. Maria volunteered to host sessions for parents, sharing her own experiences. Others offered to lead discussions about jobs and education, while some even proposed art classes for the kids. Each enthusiasm and idea layered on top of each other, creating a rich tapestry of community spirit. Later that evening, Jack found himself at the community center again, pacing as he prepared for a meeting with interested neighbors. Candles flickered against the walls, casting a warm glow that felt inviting. He glanced around the room, filled with familiar faces. Even Maria was sitting front and center, her presence both reassuring and intimidating. "Thank you all for coming," Jack started, his voice trembling slightly. "Yesterday was a turning point for us. But it's just the beginning. I want us to figure out how we can support each other regularly, to create something lasting, together." As they shared ideas, the energy shifted. Everyone was leaning in, sharing visions of what could be. Jack felt hope bubbling within him, mixing with fear. He knew they were venturing into something bigger, something that could change lives. Suddenly, Maria raised her hand, commanding attention. "But what if we fail?" Silence descended. A shared fear manifested. Jack's heart raced. What if we don't? What if this is just the support we need? He locked eyes with Maria. What if we're exactly what this community has been waiting for? A collective murmur rippled through the room, curiosity igniting. Could they really pull this off? Would they be able to face the challenges ahead? What if they opened their hearts and had it returned with disappointment? As Jack looked around at the eager faces, he felt the weight of potential. Perhaps this was the moment that could define not only the community, but also him. In that moment of uncertainty, all he could do was breathe, ready for whatever would come next. Would they rise together or falter under the pressure of their new goals? Tomorrow they would take their first steps, and Jack knew it would be anything but easy. Stepping into the unknown always came with its risks. But Jack felt something stirring in him. Could this be the start of something much bigger than he had ever imagined? Jack tossed and turned in bed that night, thoughts swirling around like leaves in the wind. He couldn't shake the images from the community center, faces lit with hope and uncertainty mixed together. Each suggestion they had batted around felt like a promise. Yet the fear of failing loomed large. Would they truly pull together, or would all this enthusiasm fade like morning mist under a harsh sun? After a restless night, morning broke and Jack felt the weight of purpose. He wasn't going to let this slip away. He would fight to keep the spark alive. He showered quickly and dressed, a tangle of anticipation and excitement coursing through him. This was the day they would begin putting words into action. As he approached the community center, he spotted Maria setting up tables. She looked focused, her brow slightly furrowed. God, she was beautiful in a way that made his heart skip. Steeling himself, he walked over. "Need a hand?" "Yeah, that'd be great," she replied, turning to him with a smile that lit up her face. "I was worried hardly anyone would show up. But look," she gestured toward the crowd forming outside. Families, kids, and even some older folks had gathered. Curiosity etched on their faces. Jack's pulse quickened. "This is amazing." People greeted each other, some hugging while others simply nodded in acknowledgement. It felt as if the community was slowly weaving closer together, like threads pulling into a single fabric. The camaraderie buzzed in the air. As they moved outside, he noticed how a few kids raced around, laughing while the adults began to mingle. Jack called everyone to gather, feeling the urgency to seize this moment. "Everyone, thank you for coming. I know we're all nervous about this, but this is our chance to connect, to learn, and grow together. Let us talk about what we want to create." They shared their ideas openly, parenting workshops, book clubs, cooking classes. Each suggestion was met with excitement. Maria led a discussion on educational support for the kids, and when an older gentleman suggested a mentorship program for teens, claps echoed around the small crowd. Jack felt a swell of energy in his chest as the atmosphere blossomed around him. This was it. They were bonding through dreams and shared goals. But then came the reality check. as someone whispered, what happens when it gets tougher? When schedules clash? Or there's disagreement? Jack sensed the shift in energy. A wave of shadows passed over faces. Doubts resurfaced. Maria took a step forward, as if drawn to the gravity of that fear. But what if we could promise each other that even when it gets tough, we'll stick it out? Support each other no matter what? The murmur of agreement began to grow as Jack felt a rush of resolve. Yes, we can be our own safety nets. When one of us stumbles, the rest will be right there to catch them. As if sparked by his words, hands shot up, voices raised in encouragement. The idea of commitments and support blossomed, making everyone feel included and essential. The fears were still there, but so was the sense of solidarity. Jack stepped back, letting the energy of the gathering settle around him like a warm blanket. He glanced over at Maria, whose eyes sparkled with admiration and belief. Something shifted again. His heart echoed what felt like hope, intertwining with something deeper. But could they truly maintain this momentum? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues over their makeshift gathering, Jack sensed the looming question on every lip. What happens when the shine faded? How would they face real challenges together? Would he find the courage to lead even then? As the first session began, he felt the unfamiliar weight of his role settle on his shoulders. Could he carry it all? Only time would tell if they could turn dreams into lasting change. And as he said a silent prayer, a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Would this fire keep burning bright? Or was it destined to flicker out? The first session rolled on, the atmosphere electric with eagerness yet tinged with uncertainty. Jack stood before the group, but a knot twisted in his stomach. He scanned the faces, each one reflecting a mixture of hope and that same flickering doubt. He cleared his throat, feeling the weight of their expectations resting on him. Today, we're starting with something fun, he announced, trying to infuse energy back into the room. Let us share our own stories. What brought you here? What do you hope to gain? Slowly, hands began to rise. A young mother spoke first about her desire to find a support network for her kids. An elderly man related how he once felt disconnected after his spouse passed. Each vignette drew them closer, stitching their lives together with shared struggles and dreams. Jack leaned into these stories, feeling their essence wrap around him like an embrace. Maria jumped in, her voice warm and inviting. I think we should create a story circle where we can meet regularly, just to share and support one another through our journeys. Could be a safe space. The group buzzed with approval and Jack felt relieved. That is a fantastic idea, Maria. What if we hold the first circle next week? We can rotate houses, make it personal. As the conversation flowed, Jack couldn't help but admire how easily Maria took charge. She didn't just participate. She lit sparks that ignited ideas in others. Her laughter rang clear, a melody amid the discussions, and he felt a warmth spread through him. But lurking at the edges of his thoughts was a nagging concern. What if their enthusiasm remained just that, enthusiasm? What if reality pulled them in different directions? When the session began to wind down, their focus shifted to logistics. Jack looked toward the back of the room as a shy teenager raised his hand slowly. Can I ask, what happens if we don't like someone's idea? Or if we disagree? A hush fell over the room like a heavy curtain. Fear flickered across faces again. Jack caught Maria's gaze. She nodded at him, encouraging him to address the concern. Disagreement is expected, he said, trying to sound reassuring. It means we're engaged, and that's okay. It's how we handle those moments that will define us. He took a deep breath. We need to promise to communicate openly. If someone feels hurt or frustrated, speak up. Don't let it fester. I think we should have a code word, a woman suggested, her brow raised. Like a safe word. If it's too much, we pause the conversation. How about pineapple? Laughter erupted at the absurdity of it, breaking the tension, and the air seemed lighter as they all nodded in agreement. Jack felt a rush of gratitude toward this community of misfits who banded together with such resilience and humor that as they wrapped up, Jack caught Maria's eye again. There was a spark of admiration in her gaze, and his heart raced. Just then, The community center door swung open suddenly, and in walked the town's mayor, a stern look on his face. "Is this the community gathering?" he asked, scanning the room. Everyone seemed to freeze. The mayor was rarely seen outside of council meetings, and his presence felt like an omen. Jack's mind raced. Had they done something wrong? "Yup. We're trying to build connections," he forced out, trying to project confidence, even as uncertainty bubbled inside him. The mayor crossed his arms, his eyes narrow. "Well, let us see if this project has any promise or is simply a waste of time." Silence enveloped them. Jack felt the weight of expectation reminiscent of the crushing weight he had felt earlier today. How would they sway the mayor's opinion? Could they demonstrate that this meant more than a fleeting endeavor? All eyes turned to Jack, their hope tethered to his response. Jack swallowed hard, knowing full well that the Real challenge was only just beginning. Would they rise together, or would the shadows of doubt loom large over their budding community? The mayor's gaze pinned Jack to the spot, a wave of doubt crashing over him. He took a deep breath, trying to summon the courage that had fueled him throughout the meeting. "Mr. Mayor," Jack started, his voice steadier than he felt, "we're here to foster connections, to support one another. Tomorrow isn't about me or any single person. It's about all of us, our hopes and fears." The mayor raised an eyebrow, looking skeptical. The air was thick with tension, but Jack pressed on. "We have stories to share, experiences that matter. We're committed to creating a space where everyone feels heard and valued. This isn't just a project. It's a chance to make our community stronger." He could feel the weight of the group's collective breath as they shifted in their seats, weighing his words. Jack glanced at Maria. A flicker of encouragement danced in her eyes, and his heart jolted. "Is that so?" The mayor replied, skepticism still lacing his tone. "What will you do when the first disagreement arises? What's to stop this from becoming just another town hall brawl?" Jack's stomach churned, but he couldn't let fear take hold. Every gathering has its challenges. What we need is to handle them with respect and understanding. If we can do that, we'll grow even stronger. Look at this room. We've already started to build something beautiful together. He gestured around at the small crowd, their faces now glimmering with hope. The mayor's frown deepened. "Hope is one thing, results are another. How you handle conflict will determine if you can actually achieve what you're setting out to do. This is the real test." Jack nodded slowly, understanding the stakes now, feeling the burden of expectation heavier than ever. "You're right," he answered, his voice firm. "The commitment to honesty, respect, and support will guide us. We will work through these issues together, and we welcome your input. This gathering is for everyone, including you, Mr. Mayor." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. A few heads nodded, and Jack watched as murmurs of encouragement rippled among the participants. The skeptical tightness in the air began to open up just a little, and hope filled the cracks. Looking around, Jack saw faces lighten, a mixture of determination and bravery. The elderly man's eyes shone as he met Jack's gaze, a silent camaraderie forming. The mayor's expression remained unreadable, but Jack could sense that he was considering the truth in their words. "We shall see," he finally replied, a slight softening in his tone. Sometimes potential lies in the most unexpected places. Jack felt a flutter of relief wash over him. The mayor's words echoed in his mind, not as a threat but as a challenge, one he was ready to embrace. After the mayor left, the weight in the room lifted, replaced with chatter and excitement. Jack stepped back and watched as connections formed, as stories began spreading forth again like wildflowers. He wanted this community, this project, more than anything. Maria turned to him, her smile warm. "You handled that well, Jack. I thought he was going to turn us into a punchline." "Thanks, but it's not about me," he replied, feeling the blush creep onto his cheeks. "It's about all of us, right?" As they began to clean up, the buzz in the room made Jack's heart race with renewed hope. Perhaps they could navigate the difficult waters together. Yet, as people prepared to leave, Jack couldn't shake a growing unease. The mayor's words had struck a chord he couldn't ignore. Was it too much to hope for success right out of the gate? And what if the cracks began to show? With a determined breath, he straightened up. Tomorrow would be a new day for their story circle, and they needed to be ready to tackle whatever came their way. Addressing the group, he said, "Let us make sure to keep our conversations open, honest, and kind this week. Agree?" Nods and murmurs of commitment filled the room. But as Jack watched them leave, a feeling of uncertainty gnawed at his gut. What hidden challenges lay just beneath the surface? Would they be prepared for them when they arose? The shadows of doubt loomed large, but in their wake was a flicker of resilience, a spark that together they could muster the strength to face anything. Would that spark be enough when tougher trials came? The next chapter of their journey awaited, and all he could do was hope they were ready. The next morning dawned bright and unseasonably warm for early spring. Jack stood in front of the community center, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. He could already see chairs being set up in a large circle, and the faint sound of laughter floated through the open doors. It was a small victory, the first indication that a gathering meant to encourage dialogue and connection was actually happening. As people began to trickle in, Jack couldn't help but notice the diversity of individuals filling the room. Some wore casual clothes, while others sported pressed shirts and polished shoes. Young and old, newcomers and lifelong residents, they were there not just for the project but for the promise of change. Jack felt a warmth spreading through him as he smiled and greeted everyone, trying his best to memorize names, hoping against hope that by the end, they would feel like family. Maria arrived just as he was organizing the last few chairs. She was holding a stack of papers, her face alight with urgency. "Jack, I've been working on the agenda for today," she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I thought maybe we could start with a round of introductions to get everyone comfortable?" "Absolutely," Jack replied, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "Let us make it fun. Maybe share one thing you hope to take away from this." A few minutes later, the room was buzzing. Jack could see people nodding and smiling. The atmosphere was warm and inviting. One by one, members of the community shared their hopes. Some wanted better connections. Others desired understanding or a chance to be heard. The narrative began to weave itself, a tapestry of dreams emerging with each voice. But then, like thunder on a clear day, it happened. A voice cut through the friendly chatter. "Excuse me. Excuse me." It was Martha, a longtime resident known for her sharp tongue. "The last meeting didn't go well. We were filled with zeal, but it ended in chaos. What will you do to stop those who follow the rules?" Her words pierced Jack's heart like ice. Silence enveloped the room. Everyone seemed to hold their breath, waiting for him to respond. Jack swallowed hard, feeling the weight of expectation once again. "Martha, thank you for your honesty," he began, fighting to keep his voice steady. "This journey won't be perfect, and we will face disagreements. But we can choose to work through those together. If we remember why we're here." Martha crossed her arms. "And if someone won't budge, what then?" Jack could feel the flicker of doubt creeping back in, but he squashed it down. "That's when we need to rely on each other. We have to set the tone of respect and kindness. If we lead by example, I believe the rest will follow." He knew it wasn't a perfect answer, but it was all he had. The murmurs returned, this time mixed with a hint of understanding. Others began to chime in, some offering their own insights on handling conflict, while others shared a story of a past disagreement that ended in unexpected friendship. As each person spoke, the tension cracked like ice, and Jack felt the warmth returning. Suddenly, the door swung open, and in strode the mayor, his presence eliciting gasps. The unease in the room returned, snapping the threads of connection that had just begun to stitch themselves together. Jack's heart dropped. Was he here to criticize? To undermine their efforts once again? The mayor looked around, his eyes scanning the crowd before landing on Jack. He cleared his throat, commanding attention. "I've heard about this gathering. I'm curious. Can your dialogue handle true dissent?" Jack's heartbeat quickened. Would the promise they had woven together fall apart at this new test? As people looked on, the atmosphere thickened like fog. Could their fledgling effort survive yet another challenge? And more importantly, were they ready to open their hearts to each other when the stakes grew even higher? Jack didn't know what the mayor's intentions were, but his mind raced with the possibilities that lay ahead. Would this be the moment that tested them, or would it become a defining moment of change? The answers lay within their shared vulnerability, ready to unfold. Jack felt the weight of the room shift with the mayor's bold challenge hanging in the air. It was a test he hadn't anticipated, and it sent ripples of unease through the gathering. The warmth of earlier laughter faded, replaced by a tension that clung to everyone like a thick fog. He took a deep breath, rallying every ounce of courage he had. This was not just about him anymore. It was about everyone in that room, their hopes and dreams woven together in a delicate fabric. Mayor, Jack started, steadying his gaze, we're here to foster real conversation, even when it's difficult. We may not have all the answers, but what we do have is willingness to listen and learn from each other. The mayor regarded Jack with a measured expression, and the crowd shifted, their eyes darting between the two men. Jack could feel their hope, their fear, as they held their breaths, waiting for the tide to turn again. He wanted to reach out to show everyone that they were stronger together. We're all in this together, he repeated, raising his voice slightly, letting the sincerity seep in. We might disagree, but that's part of sharing a community. Isn't that worth standing up for? A murmur rippled through the audience. Jack heard a few encouraging voices saying, yes, and that's right. It was a flicker of hope, a chink in the armor of apprehension that Maria and he had tirelessly sought to create. Martha uncrossed her arms and leaned forward slightly, her brow furrowing in thought, indicating to Jack that he just might be reaching her. Suddenly, the mayor's expression softened just a fraction. You think you can handle dissent, then? He pressed, eyes narrowing just slightly, as if daring Jack to prove his words in real time. But of course, a voice called from the back at Sarah, a young college student who had been quiet until now. We cannot have change without disagreement. That's how we learn. There was newfound energy in the room. A fire ignited as people started to nod and murmur agreement. Jack could see the shuffling of new energy, a spark of purpose weaving through the room. Yes, we are a diverse community, and that means we have different perspectives. If we're going to truly connect, then we need to embrace that diversity, not shy away from it, she added, her voice gaining strength. With renewed momentum, others chimed in. Elders shared stories of past struggles, newcomers expressed their hopes, all joining this chorus of vulnerability and strength. Jack felt relief flood through him. It was working. They were becoming a united front against the fear that the mayor's presence had stirred. The mayor cleared his throat again but did not interrupt. Instead, he stood back, observing, weighing their responses. Jack could feel the anticipation hanging between them, like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Just as he thought the moment would break into applause, a shadow of doubt flickered in the air again. But talking is one thing. Action is another, the mayor finally said, a slight challenge creeping into his tone. How will you ensure that talking leads to real results? Jack faced the crowd again, feeling his heart pounding. He understood this was their moment to define themselves. I think that's where we all need to step up. Each person here brings something valuable. We need to hold each other accountable. Our actions matter as much as our words. People were nodding, resonating with the idea of shared responsibility. Just then, he caught Martha's eye. There was a glimmer of respect there. But before he could press forward with his thoughts, the mayor took a step closer, his eyes now bright with interest. Perhaps I misjudged this gathering, he said slowly. But I need to know one thing. What will you do with this once you leave this room? Those words hovered in the air like a challenge. Jack felt the weight of his answer pressing down on him. What would they do next? Would they be the change they wanted to see? Or would they remain stagnant? As he opened his mouth to answer, the room fell into an anxious hush. Would the momentum they've built carry them forward? Or would they fall back into the same patterns they sought to change? Suddenly, the possibilities of their future lay before them, full of promise yet tinged with uncertainty, and it was up to Jack and everyone else in that room to seize the moment. Could they push past the hurdles of doubt and truly create something remarkable together? The next step awaited, but was everyone ready to take it? The days that followed buzzed with energy and a sense of purpose. Jack felt that the community was finally awakening, their voices one after another merging into a powerful chant of hope. They had each other's backs. They were ready to make real change. Jack met with Maria often, their conversations growing deeper, tinged with mutual respect and admiration. Together, they organized meetings and workshops, inviting everyone to participate, to voice their dreams and concerns. Excitement filled the air as plans unfolded: parenting workshops, job training sessions, even art classes for kids. It was a kaleidoscope of activities, all driven by the community's desires. Then came the day of the first real workshop. Jack stood at the front, his heart racing as he watched neighbors fill the room, laughter ringing like sweet music. Maria joined him, a reassuring smile curling her lips. They had done this together. The community was alive. "Welcome, everyone," Jack began, drawing attention as he unveiled the agenda. "Today we're here not just as individuals but as a family." As he spoke, the atmosphere shifted from nervousness to eager anticipation. People nodded, responding to his warmth. Maria stepped in to lead the discussion, her enthusiasm contagious. "Let us share our stories. The more we communicate, the more connected we become." She encouraged participation, and soon hands shot up. Each story shared was like a brick laid in stronger foundations. Tales of struggles, triumphs, and dreams all woven together in a tapestry rich with resilience. Suddenly, Martha stood up again, but this time, the room didn't flinch. "I didn't believe any of this was possible," she admitted, her voice steady. "But so many of us here want better for our families. I'm willing to put in the work if you are." The crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of agreement crashing over them. Jack's heart soared. This was what they had been fighting for: a sense of unity and collective purpose. As the discussions wrapped up, an air of determination enveloped the room. Every fleeting doubt dissipated like the morning fog. People started to rise, formulating ideas for the next workshop to ensure momentum wouldn't falter. Jack felt a tingle of excitement. This was at the beginning of something profound. Yet, as the night settled in, a cloud of concern floated above Jack's head. Was he ready for the responsibility he bore? There was still the mayor who had voiced skepticism. They needed more than words. They needed visible results. With that weighing on his mind, he organized a follow-up meeting with community leaders, including Maria, Carla, and even Martha. Jack shared his concerns and asked for feedback. "What's our plan if the mayor comes back? How can we showcase our progress?" Together, they brainstormed ideas, anxious energy filling the space. They decided to invite the mayor to their next major event, a community picnic celebrating their progress. It was bold, perhaps even risky, but something deep within Jack told him it was necessary. Days passed, and excitement surged. The picnic day arrived, and the community center was transformed into a vibrant gathering place filled with laughter, food, and art exhibits showcasing local talent. Jack looked around, his heart swelling at the sight of families coming together, their spirits high as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in vibrant hues. The mayor arrived, and a hush fell over the crowd. Jack felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. Today was about more than just food and fun. It was a testament to the community's spirit. "Welcome, Mr. Mayor," Jack greeted, attempting to project confidence. "Thank you for joining us. We wanted to show you the progress we've made together." With every eye on him, he launched into a speech, fueled by genuine hope. Each word spilled forth about their ideas and plans, addressing the challenges and, more importantly, the connections they had formed. And then, to his surprise, the mayor stepped up to speak. "I have watched you all," he said, his tone softening. "I've seen the effort you've put in. Watching you all support one another is inspiring. Keep this going. You have made a believer out of me." Cheers erupted, and Jack felt a rush of joy flood him. It was a moment of validation, a testament to their journey, but it was also a reminder of the road ahead. That night, as the last of the laughter faded, Jack stood on the community center balcony, gazing at the stars. He held the lunchbox tightly, smiling at the memories it etched into his heart. This was not just about one wealthy billionaire making a difference. It was about a community reclaiming its identity, a family growing back together. As Jack's eyes shimmered with tears of joy, he realized something powerful. They had crossed a threshold, not just creating a series of events but igniting a spirit that refused to be snuffed out. They were no longer just neighbors. They had become a community entwined with hope, cradle to cradle. And so, as the last flickers of day surrendered to night, Jack felt a choice solidifying within him. He was committed, not only to this journey but to the bonds that formed along the way. Together, they would face tomorrow, not in fear, but in unwavering courage. This was just the beginning, an open book whose pages were waiting to be filled with stories of resilience, laughter, and love. As Jack took a deep breath, he whispered to the night, "We're ready for whatever comes next." In that serene moment, with the whisper of the evening breeze, he felt it deep within his soul, the heart of the community, alive and ready. And now, let me ask you, don't wait not even one more second to share this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now to stay a part of our ongoing transformation. Leave a like too, it matters more than you think. And please comment your thoughts about this heartwarming ending. Lastly, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear this powerful message. Join us as we continue to build this beautiful story together.